My name is Ghostboy259 and I play the Pathless. The Pathless is a game developed by Giant Squid, the creators of the newly released Sword of the Sea, and also includes the art director of the game Journey. And oh man, can you tell. The game is an open world exploration and puzzle game, not too dissimilar from Omno, which we covered last week, although this game has more of a set story with an antagonist and boss encounters, although it's not a combat game per se. You don't have a health bar, there aren't really major consequences for dying in the few places that you can do it, but I think it works with the overall design philosophy quite well. If you're interested in watching me play through the game for the first time, you can check out the VOD at youtube.com/realityescapeplays. You can also watch me play these games live on Twitch at twitch.tv/ghostboy259. And you can support this channel on Patreon, join our Discord with the links at realityescape.ca. And while you're clicking all of these things, why not subscribe for 2 videos a week about games you've maybe never heard of? The Pathless starts off with the main character, known as the Hunter, finding and attempting to heal the Eagle Mother, who is then killed off by the God Slayer. The Eagle Mother, in her dying words, tasks us with freeing the other gods who have been cursed by the God Slayer to do evil. This is one of those games where the premise is kind of all right in front of you. There's not really any surprises for the majority of the game loop. You have a set amount of these gods or beasts, you have to solve some puzzles, free them, and then move on to the next one. The world is very large in scale to the player, and the movement mechanics are a huge part of the game, and perhaps some of the most unique movement mechanics I've ever seen in a game. While the player has a bow and arrow, it's not actually meant for striking enemies. In fact, there's not really enemies in this game outside of the gods. There's no health bar, you can't die, you can't take damage. The game is purely based on exploration and mild puzzle solving. And removing negative mechanics entirely allow you to just absorb the story, focus on what's going forward, take in the environment without having to worry about it as much. I know there's more and more talk about really difficult games and whether games should have a difficulty setting or not, but sometimes I think death and restarting a section can actually ruin a gaming experience. Sometimes games do it seamless, sometimes it feels like a challenge and you're ready to get right back into it with a little more knowledge and determination, but in a game like this, dying would just feel pointless. It would just feel like a distraction, and I think it would take away from the overall experience. This is simply a game that doesn't need death. While walking around, you'll have a dash meter which runs out pretty fast, and without dash, you will walk very slowly, especially compared to the size of the world. But you'll see plenty of these little square-shaped targets called talismans. By holding down your arrow shot just enough for the little cursor to go all the way around the whole square, you'll shoot it, and it will give you a slight speed boost and refill your dash. This may seem repetitive and maybe even unnecessary, but let me tell you that the entire map is filled to the brim with these things, and it is the most unique way I have ever explored a gaming world. It is actually so much fun, it is so satisfying, and I could just do this for hours. The world is massive and can seem overwhelming at times, but having to rely on shooting these talismans to keep moving forward is just this amazing way of speeding things up. It makes it faster, but it's not too fast. You still feel like you're exploring. And it makes sure that the player is always engaged with the game. Not only are you constantly on the lookout to see what's next in terms of puzzles and objectives, but even just seeing where the talismans are and go gives you an idea of where you can explore. The world doesn't feel nearly as empty when you're actively sliding around, and most importantly, just doing it is fun, and that's kind of cool. Mix this with your eagle companion, who I believe is either meant to be the Eagle Mother reincarnated or one of her young, and you'll eventually get the ability to glide and later flap her wings to get a boost of height. And even though the world is massive, you'll be flying through it, realizing you can explore from every and all angles and heights. The only downside is sometimes during puzzles there's no talismans around, and it's only then you realize how slow the normal pace of the game is when you have no dash. It becomes absolutely necessary to dash when you're going from place to place, but the developers realize this, so they still made it as fun as possible. And even in stretches where I do nothing but move around for 2 to 3 minutes, I still found myself enjoying the game. But it's not the whole game. There's more to do than just moving things around. At the beginning of the game, you'll get the ability to put your mask on, which will help you see secrets. Now, in some kind of games, this is absolutely a thing that you'll need to keep on 24/7, and there's tons of small hidden collectibles around every corner, and you don't want to miss anything, but thankfully this is not one of those games. It really only serves two purposes, either to go through a wall, and those are generally very clearly marked, so you're not going to have to guess and put it on and off all the time, and just to give you a general idea of where to go, like a map system. It's otherwise not used a terrible amount, maybe at least not as much as you would expect. In each section of the game, there will be multiple things you can do. There will be large obelisks in which you collect these glowing orbs and turn the tower from a glowing red to a white light, and once you've done all three, you'll be able to confront the boss of that region. Sometimes the towers have no way up, sometimes they have a pull rope. I'm guessing it depends on if you have the right amount of light stones or not. I think the pull rope only appears when you have enough, or maybe I just found a pillar and I was an idiot and I couldn't find the pull rope. Both answers are plausible. Most of the game will be doing the puzzles scattered all across the land in order to get these tokens called light stones, usually reminiscent of the animal god you're trying to free, although the second animal god I fought was a giraffe, and I saved a lizard, so who knows. You'll need a certain amount of these to activate the obelisks, and there's a ton of puzzles, so I believe there's multiple ways to get the ones you need, as most of the game is spent in these little isolated puzzles figuring out what needs to be done. It is possible that some puzzles only unlock after you've cleared up the area and defeated the boss. I can't say for certain. It's possible the map is just so big that I never stumbled upon certain ones until after I was done. It's very common for you to find a puzzle off in the distance, head that way, and then get distracted by two more things and never actually go back to the puzzle you intended. You'll also find these little lantern puzzles scattered everywhere, and if you complete them, then you get these little collectibles, and if you get enough, then it increases your dash meter. But I also think beating bosses does this as well, and it erases your progress on the bar, but I kind of just did them when I saw them. I think one of the few annoying aspects of this game is that the spirit mask doesn't really do a great job at differentiating between what's a lantern and what's a light stone. And that's probably my biggest complaint, is I ended up doing a lot of extra stuff I didn't want to be doing. Sometimes you think you're doing a puzzle to move the game forward, and it ends up being something extra and not necessary. Sometimes the obelisk will be in this large dark cloud, and if you go inside it, you'll encounter a mini-game where the god you're trying to free turns into a searchlight, and your eagle companion has been separated from you. All you have to do is not move in the spotlight. It's nothing terribly difficult, and if you end up doing this a lot, I can see it being annoying, but I only had to do it a handful of times, and honestly, I didn't mind it because visually it was just so cool to look at. The game does a great job at contrast between high tension and low tension moments. Even though it's nighttime when you're traveling around, you have lots of calming blues and dark greens, and the talismans are these little lights that show you the path, and there's some light cloudiness. But when you encounter these moments with the boss, everything becomes dark and red, and instead of cloudy, it's smoky, and it's crazy how a game can even visually distinguish between the two. And when you complete a section, it becomes daytime and everything becomes naturous and serene, and it's just really cool how well they have these different visual styles that you can see the same place in. It's definitely one of the best aspects of this game. It's not hard to see why it's praised for its visuals. After you've brightened all the obelisks, you'll have a boss encounter, which again, I'll remind you, you can't really die during these. You'll zoom around, trying to catch up with it, shooting talismans to gain your dash, and eventually you'll need to shoot the targets on it. It's all very fast paced, and at moments like these, it'll feel like you can't possibly catch up, but eventually you do, and it's quite a fun time, albeit very easy and basic. After that, it'll send you to some arena type thing where you'll have to do some extra things to defeat it. Normally it's avoid getting hit out of the arena and then hit the targets. Sometimes they throw something a little fun at you. Because the game is more puzzle than combat, I like not having death. And if you do, quote unquote, die, then you're literally right back in the fray within seconds. Most of the other puzzles in the game don't involve timing. When you're chasing down a boss or hiding from it, it's all about timing, and these boss fights are more or less a combination of the two. They are timed puzzles. After this section is complete, you'll gain access to the next area, and the world you're currently in will fill up with all the colors. It'll be daytime, the god is free, everything is nice and serene, and you're free to stay or move on. You'll also see this golden pillar after a boss fight, and yes, this entire thing can be filled up with all the light stones you missed. You don't have to do this, it's definitely a lot to ask for. As you can see, there are a ton in every world to collect. But if you're loving the gameplay loop so far, then this is perfect, because I'm sure it would easily take an additional 2 to 3 hours to find all the remaining light stones, do all the puzzles, get all the bonuses for the ones you complete. I personally opted out of this because I'm just trying to finish games and move on, but I love the option, and I low-key was tempted just to get the special ending. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a better ending you get if you do all of this stuff. It was just a little bit too much for me to consider. It wouldn't surprise me if most people didn't do this, just because the sheer number alone probably deters people from doing it, plus having to find the puzzles in the first place. But like I said, if you love this game, your eyes probably popped out of your head with excitement seeing this, because it's just more of the same thing you've already been enjoying. The puzzles themselves to get the light stones aren't too complicated, although sometimes things can be confusing because there's not a whole lot of information you're getting as you're playing. It's a lot of classic RPG puzzle type stuff. You shoot things at mirrors, you put weights on platforms, you try to get a flame from place to open a door. Sometimes you just won't be able to find the weight that you need or anything near you, or sometimes you won't realize you can move things, or sometimes you'll get stuck at this one part for 20 minutes trying to figure out what on earth this timer thing is for, only to give up and find yourself back here later when you realize that this is where the ending boss fight takes place, which is cool, albeit a little confusing that they let you be here this early. It's nothing too crazy. There's definitely a few puzzles that will stump you a little bit, and it's also just tricky to look up guides on things because the areas aren't well defined, but there's surely enough stuff out there to help you if you really need it. If you don't want to 100% the game, you will be able to find an easier puzzle in the same area somewhere else, so just don't be afraid to leave and go find that. And if you're stuck and you do want to 100% the game, well, toughen up, baby, you signed up for this. The contrast between the fast-paced movement and boss encounters versus the really slow, methodical puzzles is quite interesting. I can see this being really decisive for some people. For me, I don't mind it terribly because I enjoy the art style of the game. Everything is gorgeous and beautiful to look at. The sky is some of the coolest I've ever seen in a game, especially when you can get up really high and just look at all that's around you. It's quite wonderful. It's got this great variety of dark and gritty, and it's got corpses and lore drops from soon-to-be dead soldiers to large, now destroyed statues and structures of the past, and even the character design is really cool. All that to say is that even though the game has some different things to it, if it looks pretty, I'll still play it. So leave a comment telling me your favorite pretty game. Even if it sucks, I'll probably want to play it. I will say the boss design is a little off-putting sometimes. I love what they've done in Isolation, but when you have these amazing deep red fire locations, the grass is on fire, but it's this dark and there's red and burning. Literally things that I used to write stories about as a kid. And then you see this giraffe, which with this lighting scheme just looks, I don't know, something like it's out of a Nintendo 64, and they tried to make it so it was on fire, but they couldn't make it on fire, so they just made the textures fire, and the colors are all super vibrant, so it just pops out in a very strange way. Everything else is easily the best use of color and lighting I've seen in a game in a long time, but this one particular thing, maybe it's just me, I don't know, it just feels a little strange. I ultimately really loved this game. It's exploration and puzzle for the most part, but when the boss fights comes in, it's about precision and timing, and you feel really good when you beat a boss. I definitely had some issues with it. It wasn't perfect, but it's absolutely gorgeous to look at, so I can get past that. And the story ramps up quite nicely at the end. It actually builds to a pretty solid crescendo. It's not just as predictable as here's the villain beat the villain, and ultimately I felt very satisfied with my time at the end of the game. I also really love the music in the game. I just want to say I highly recommend checking it out if you can. The composer has a YouTube video where he talks about like some behind the scenes on the tracks or some inspiration on the tracks, which is really, really cool. I would say my main issue with the music is I just wanted more. There's a lot of ambient parts, but the melodic parts are just so incredible. I just wanted to hear it all the time, but I get why they don't want to just like, spam you with the cool melody parts, but I really enjoy the music in this game too. My advice to you is that if you want to play this game and 100% it, I would 100% the game as you're playing rather than playing and then coming back to 100% it, because while you do get some benefits from 100%ing, after the 4th section there's no more like traditional gameplay since the boss fights mechanically work different from the regular gameplay. So I would just decide sooner than later if you're going to 100% it, and then do that while you're like finish one section entirely before moving on. You can go back post game and do that, but I think you'd just be better off doing it at the same time. But don't let me tell you how to live your life. I don't really care. Also, the one mechanic I didn't mention, you have to wipe evil energy off your pet bird. I didn't mention it because it's just, well, I don't really know how to feel about it. It's very weird. It just takes up seconds. I'm not really sure how it fits into the game, but I literally couldn't find a good way to fit it in here, so it's just mentioning at the end that you can wipe off your bird. But if you enjoy puzzles, there's probably well over 100 puzzles in this game alone that are enough to get the brain going. But they're easy enough that you won't need a guide for it. If you love exploration, there's a ton of it. If you want the coolest movement you've ever had in a game, then this has it. And if you want a story with a lot of really cool world lore, then this is also for you. And of course, you can play the game any way you like because there is no one path. Some might say we are all the Pathless. And my name is Ghostboy259 and I played the Pathless. Next time, I'll play something else. Thanks for watching.